This episode is brought to you by MeUndies. While MeUndies can't totally help your love life this Valentine's Day, they can offer you insanely comfy undies and loungewear to buy or gift. MeUndies has so many awesome Valentine's Day prints and styles. Plus, you can match with your partner, friends, or even your pets. This Valentine's Day, give the gift that'll keep them thinking of you and score huge site-wide savings at MeUndies.com/Spotify. That's MeUndies.com/Spotify. MeUndies. Comfort from the outside in.
Build a routine with Ollie that supports your wellness needs, like getting your daily vitamins and minerals with Ollie's multi-gummies, or keeping your mood upbeat with all the vitamin D in Hello Happy. Give your gut health some support with probiotics, and wake up feeling refreshed after taking Ollie Sleep. Do wellness on your terms. Find Ollie at a Walmart or Target near you, or at ollie.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Moms, tired of overthinking every decision around what's best for your kids? Stop. Get Smarty Pants vitamins and worry about one less thing. Smarty Pants Kids Multi and Omegas support kids' overall health with 16 daily nutrients, including vitamin C for immune support and D3 for bone health. That's 45% more nutrients than the leading kids multi-gummy brand. Seems like a no-brainer, right? Get Smarty Pants on Amazon today.
Can we do a boat pageant for my grandma's birthday?
Once the Jubilee is over, can we have Colin Firth Day? Answer me this, Helen and Ollie, answer me this.
Helen Zaltzman.
Yes, Ollie man.
On Sunday the 20th of May 2012 at 6:15pm, were you on the number 122 bus from Crystal Palace to Forest Hill?
I have a cast iron alibi for that time. No, I don't think I've been on the 122 since last summer.
Oh.
When I was returning from Catford to Crystal Palace after a ramble.
Well, with such a tediously mundane detail, you have unwittingly slammed Pete from Forest Hill.
So early in the show.
You will have also eased his conscience.
Okay, good. Yes!
Because he's written in to say, on Sunday the 20th of May 2012 at about 6:15pm, I was on the number 122 bus from Crystal Palace to Forest Hill. I sat on the top deck at the front, and who should I see sitting in the next seat over but Helen Zaltzman leafing through a newspaper?
No, you didn't.
Impossible.
What's the alibi?
I was on a train coming back from my parents.
I was immediately sure it was you, says Pete. Brilliant, I thought. I'll get her autograph.
What do you need that for? That is of zero value.
Well, you say that. You don't know how you're going to die yet. You may yet become the victim of a high-profile serial murderer, and therefore your autograph could be worth quite a lot on eBay in about 20 years' time.
Awesome.
To sick collectors.
I'll start frequenting dodgy parts of town.
But Pete says, I started having doubts.
Yeah, you're right to.
The real Helen often talks about her general shabbiness.
It's just a device.
Yeah, it's partly self-deprecation, that.
Just don't want to get you too excited about my appearance, listeners.
But this woman looked quite well dressed. Helen is usually smiling in her pictures, but this woman was a bit frowny.
That's because the camera's being pointed at me. I frown regularly in my normal life, partly because I have a bit of a squint.
Yeah, Helen's face on repose is like fury, basically.
Well, it is when you're there.
It wasn't long before I found myself only 80 to 85% sure it was Helen. In the end, I kept my mouth shut and quietly got off the bus, autographless.
To be honest, you could just guess what my autograph is like and do it in your little autograph book.
I realised later, says Pete in Forest Hill, thickening this plot, that this kind of thing happens to me all the bloody time.
Anyone would think that Pete is not all that great at facial recognition.
Maybe it's just you that he sees all the time. I woke up in the middle of the night and there was Helen Zaltzman sitting on the end of my bed. So Helen, answer me this. What's worse, having a roughly 15 to 20% chance of embarrassing yourself in front of a stranger? Very precise with the maths, isn't he, Pete?
Maybe he's a statistician in life.
Or a 100% chance of forever wondering what might have been.
The former.
Worse to embarrass yourself?
Yeah, I think so. I have the opposite problem, actually, to Pete, where I see somebody and I think, is that someone I was at school with? Or is that somebody that I had a business meeting with years ago and I can't remember their name now? And then I realise it's somebody that I can't remember the name of that I've seen in a television programme.
Oh, yeah. God, that's the worst, actually.
Well, it's fine. I mean, no one dies.
The worst thing is if you actually ask them, and so many people have asked them, they just say really reluctantly, like, Yeah, I was in the Halifax commercial 3 years ago. So
Yeah, but I'm the kind of person that never would go up and ask.
I did do this thing with a guy that I later realised, waking up in the middle of the night with a sweat, I realised, this is really weird, the managing director of Little Chef, who starred in the specialist factual documentary series Big Chef Takes on Little Chef on Channel 4 with Heston Blumenthal.
Yeah.
And I'd had a chat with him, and I was like, I know you from somewhere, but where? And I didn't ask him, and then I remembered, that's where I know him from!
My friend Julie once saw Jeremy Paxman walking his dog in the park, and she came back and she said, I saw Jeremy Paxman walking his dog in the park. I thought maybe I could give him my CV on a dog.
What?
So I think she's planning to buy a toy dog.
See, this goes
CV to it.
I honestly think there was obviously a time where in the 80s, you could send a cake to Saatchi and Saatchi with your CV in it or something, and then it was seen as a novel thing to do.
Big bag of Coke.
Yeah. With your business card to chop it up with. Yeah. But I think this stuff's just gone a bit fun. Like, these grandstanding things, I don't think people are impressed. I think they're a bit scared by it.
Use Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, she couldn't use Twitter because it was 2002.
Well, I know, but you can now.
Yeah. The dog was the early Twitter. Everyone used to @reply each other by tying messages to poodles.
Elizabeth from Thorn. I have a cat called Xander, and I also live right next to a canal where there's lots and lots of ducks. And we're just getting into the season where all the ducks are nesting and laying eggs. I don't want Xander to do a duck massacre and kill all of the tiny ducks. But he's driving me absolutely crackers, and he's clawing on my furniture, so I have to let him out. So Helen and Ollie, answer me this. What can I do that will stop Xander from wanting to kill baby ducks? I don't want to put a bell on him because I think that'll humiliate him.
I think that is a ridiculous viewpoint to espouse, Elizabeth, because the humiliation of your cat is surely not as important as saving the lives of all these ducks.
Who is he humiliated in front of? His cool cat friends?
I'm not sure, having studied cat behaviour up close, that they have humiliation in their arsenal, to be honest.
You can't see them blush because their cheeks are furry. Like Martin, actually.
Animals trade on instincts, don't they? And
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm afraid, Elizabeth, killing ducks is instinct. As you know, listeners, I'm a cat lover. Bells are essential, I'm afraid.
But do bells actually work for scaring away ducklings?
I don't know about ducklings, actually, because, of course, they learn as they get older that a bell means big, scary animal about to come.
Well, then-
But at least it alerts them to the fact that there might be some danger, and frankly, if the cat manages to catch them then, they deserve to die. It's natural selection, isn't it? They're going to get killed by something else. One technique that you could try as well is that I find that when I buy my cat a new toy that's been designed especially for cats, my cat is completely uninterested and, of course, plays in the cardboard box that the toy came in.
Yes, like a child, really.
Like a child, yeah. They don't need it. It's all just exemplifying how stupid cat owners are to spend money on their loved creatures.
I'm glad you finally realised it.
Perhaps buy your cat a duckling toy, and then it will build up such levels of disinterest in the shape of ducklings that it won't be interested in the real thing.
Reverse psychology. Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
Here's a question now from Alec with a sunburnt back.
Oh, I've seen some livid sunburn around London the past few days.
Yeah.
Sunburnt tattooed flesh as well. That's particularly squeamish making.
Although sometimes it can add to the artistry. I mean, it depends
true.
what the tattoo is of.
Yes, very much
Yeah.
so.
If it's a burger, looks great.
Sunrise.
Anyway, Alex says, Helen, answer me this. When holidaying alone, at what moment is it acceptable to approach a perfect stranger and ask them to apply sun lotion to your back?
Depends whether you're on the pool. If you're on the pool, straight away. Why wait? You're on holiday. Just go for it.
Yeah, but he's alone, but he might be approaching couples, for example.
Well,
Hello?
they might be up for it. They're on holiday.
That's true.
What happens in Marbella?
Yeah. Well, he says, is it necessary to make an introduction or engage in small talk at least a day before the application becomes an emergency?
No, I think probably 5 minutes of polite chats.
But the thing is, I mean, the picture that you so brilliantly created for us there of a lot of people sitting around a pool in Marbella, some couples that are there to swing, some that are just for the fun.
Actually, my picture is on a beach, possibly a topless beach.
Fine. Beach
but
or pool.
We're in the same sort of place.
That's fine.
Same resort.
But what if he's like in a town centre? Then you can't, can you?
Well, then he should put a shirt on.
What if he's in like a 5-star resort and it's all like really kind of manicured and everyone's like walking around in the spa? Then you can't just go up to someone.
There's a Sunburn butler at the 5-star resort.
Yeah, well, he says, is asking hotel staff acceptable?
Oh.
Depends on, again, like,
Are you gonna
what if
tip
it's
them?
not a 5-star resort, what if it's a 2-star resort? Then can you ask the staff? No, I don't think you can.
No,
If you're at an ETAP hotel,
Yeah,
it's not going to work.
definitely
I think if you're going to tip them handsomely,
Yeah.
if you're in, say, Vegas, they probably will do anything.
Yes, yeah.
They will smear that lotion anywhere you want.
Yeah, but then just as you're about to pay, they say, plus with the 30% sun lotion tax, that's $5,000.
I think maybe, if you're not on the pool, Alec, and you're worried about this, maybe approach like a kindly-looking older couple.
Yes.
So it's obvious that you're not doing it in a sleazy way, and you go, "Excuse me, I'm terribly sorry." Look at
Ageist? Why is it obvious?
Well, because
Maybe he's
they
into
might-
a bit of granny gash.
people who've been parents before, they go, "Oh, that looks nasty. Let me help."
Yeah, I see, yeah.
If you want to take the sexual element out of it, maybe that's a safe way to start. But
Yeah.
otherwise, if you're just sitting on the beach next to some people, just strike up a conversation. Go, "I'm really sorry. I know this is a bit forward and weird, but do you mind?"
Yeah, but that's very English. The way you just said that is very, very...
I am English.
Or British, I suppose, more generally.
I'm very British.
And you could say that to Americans because they like that about British people.
I think you could say that to other Brits
Yeah,
abroad.
fine.
Brits abroad lose inhibitions.
Fine, but what if he's in a place where there are no Brits abroad? What if he's the only Brit? What if he's the only person that speaks English? Can you say to a French or a stylish Italian couple, rub this in my back in that self-deprecating, I don't mean to be a terrible bother? I don't think you can.
What is it about his back that prevents him from doing it himself?
Well, it's hard to reach.
yeah, but it's
important
possible. Has
parts
he got a very big back?
He might have really short arms like Matthew McConaughey.
I suppose.
Put the suntan lotion on a long-handled paint roller.
Yes.
Do it yourself.
Yeah. In a way, it's not the most important part of your body to put suntan lotion on either as well.
Oh, I don't know, because people can lie on their fronts, fall asleep,
but
and wake
don't.
up with
But that's the
livid
answer, isn't
pain.
it? Don't lie on your front. I mean, most of the time if you're in a deck chair, you're lying on your back.
Wear a cape. You never see Batman with sunburn, do you? I've got a question.
Then email your question to answer me this podcast at googlemail.com. Answer me this podcast at googlemail.com. Answer me this podcast at googlemail.com. Answer me this podcast at googlemail.com.
What if Galaxy AI could turn your to-dos into to-das? Unlock everyday simplicity with the AI-integrated Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra at Best Buy. Pre-order now at bestbuy.com. Best Buy. Imagine that.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
Hark, what's that sound? It's the sound of 20 aeroplanes from the military flying past, making the words "Answer me this Jubilee" in type formation, of
Is
course.
it?
Yes,
How
that's
do we
right.
afford that?
On the proceeds of all of you who have bought the Answer Me This Jubilee on iTunes, thank you. Only £2.49, but it certainly adds up. It is, of course, now Jubilee week. Here's the thing that I found out about Prince Philip. He is the first royal ever to use a barbecue.
Wow!
1952, Prince Philip got his own barbecue.
Does he still use it, I wonder?
I doubt it. He's an early adopter. He's all about cloud technology now.
Do you think he now uses one of those apps that looks like a barbecue and you can pretend to be grilling a frankfurter on it?
Almost certainly.
Those are stupid, but they get very good reviews in the App Store. Well, here, accordingly, is a question about the royals.
Oh, good.
Albeit not something I think we'll be drawing attention to during this celebratory Jubilee time.
Okay.
It's a question from Rachel in Sale, who says, I know there are rumours about Princess Diana's death.
Oh, no, those aren't rumours, Rachel. She is definitely dead.
Well, it depends whether you believe my grandmother's version of the events, which I recounted in a previous episode.
Oh, it's
of the
worth
podcast.
recapping because it is good.
Okay, instead of dying in the crash, she went into a coma, and then when she woke up from the coma and realised her true love Dodie was dead, she tried to throw herself into the Seine. She was rescued by nuns. But she had amnesia. Who was this beautiful woman, they thought? They turned her into a nun. They sent her off to do good works in the Indian subcontinent somewhere. And then, on her deathbed, she gave a flash of those famous blue eyes, and the people attending her last minutes on Earth thought, oh my gosh, it was her all along.
Fucking hell.
Further, in Rachel's question, she says, I'm 11 and nearly fall asleep when copying out pages about the royals. You shouldn't copy out. You should interpret the information, add your own initiative.
You say should. I don't know if we're familiar enough with the national curriculum to know the level that you should be at.
Yeah. She says, I want to know this. So, Ollie, answer me this. How did Princess Diana actually die?
It's weird, isn't it, that if you are 11 years old,
Yeah.
you've not been alive at the same time as Princess Diana.
And it seems to me...
It's not that weird.
It is weird because to me she's still very much the face you think of when you think about, I guess, the modern monarchy.
To me, I always think of Queen Elizabeth I when I think about the modern monarchy.
Yeah, she was the first to attend a Royal Variety performance, of course. They had Marlowe, followed by some jugglers. Actually, that's not so ridiculous, is it? That is the kind of thing that we've had. Yeah.
Jesters, and then some early fireworks.
But in any case, I suppose because she's kind of frozen in time, and because
Is that where she is, frozen?
That's right, yes.
On that island in
the herb thyme, to preserve her features.
And to make her delicious when Prince Philip puts her on the barbecue.
That's right.
I didn't think there was any real dissent as to how she died, i.e. in the car crash.
Yeah.
It's why the car crash happened. That is the thing that the conspiracy theories abound about. You know, the little white car, Prince Philip cutting the brake leads, Prince Charles lying in the road and then shouting boo as the car went past.
The reason the car was going so fast when it hit the wall in the tunnel was because they were being pursued by the media.
Yes. And also the driver was 3 times over the legal drink driving limit.
Of course, and you could even say, but Princess Di was courting the media, which is why they were pursuing her and all that. But the bottom line is that happened. Then there was a massive inquiry about it, and of course, as we all know, the tabloid press now behave themselves ethically in every possible way.
They are upstanding.
So I suppose that's the thing, that it's a bit of a shame that people haven't really learned from. You know?
Was it Rebecca Brooks that killed her?
Yes.
She was sat in the boot of the car going, you don't need to wear seatbelts, any of you guys. Because none of them were either.
None of them were wearing seatbelts?
No.
Yeah.
If Rachel Insell really wants the technical details as why Diana died, she died of injuries sustained in this car crash. Chiefly, her heart was shunted from the left side of her chest to the right side of her chest, which tore her pulmonary artery, which is very hard to survive.
Happy birthday, Mum! Well, that's the Jubilee concert off to a flying start. Gary Barlow leaving the stage there. Of course, the Queen's very favourite performer ever since he did that Take That video when he had jelly rubbed into his buttocks.
The Answer Me This Jubilee. 1 hour of right royal fun. Available now from iTunes. I don't know if it's picking up on mics, but outside the window of the Answer Me This studio, there are a lot of children going, yow, 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 which is one way to reach our ears, but a better way is to call the question line by dialing this number.
02081235877.
Or by Skyping Answer Me This.
Oh, hi. This is Dan and Joe from Brick House, West Yorkshire. We were just watching Tenacious D mini-series. We were quite drunk and on a school night as well. And they appear in front of a curtain before the narrative starts, and they sort of have a bit of a conversation with the audience, which is us. Helen and Ollie, answer me that. What the hell is the first instance of a comedy duo appearing in front of a red curtain and sort of talking to the audience, saying what's happened in the episode before it actually happens?
Well, this presumably goes all the way back to like music hall and variety theatre, never mind telly. I mean, standing in front of a red curtain saying what's about to happen is what you do when scenery is being shifted behind the curtain, isn't it?
Time filling.
Yeah. If you take it outside of theatrical tradition from whence it obviously came, though, and say who were the first double act to do it on television, it probably would be someone like Morecambe and Wise.
It was probably someone before them who's less remembered because maybe the TV footage has been destroyed, or
it's like Arthur Askew kind of thing.
Yeah, but he's not double act, is he?
No.
Or if it was black and white footage, so you couldn't tell what colour the curtain was.
I don't think this is particularly a trend for double acts. Double acts tend to be used in that kind of way, but this is just a trend for any Master of Ceremony. So I'd say, for example, Steve Allen, when he hosted The Tonight Show, he did that first, didn't he? The comic monologue, standing in front of a curtain. That's what Johnny Carson did at the beginning of every Tonight Show. That's what Letterman does now, basically.
It's probably what Abbott and Costello used to do.
Fuckloads of people did that.
I know it's fictional, but it is set in, the 20s, at the beginning of The Artist. He's standing in front of a big curtain, him and his dog.
Yeah. The other place, of course, that you see a Master of Ceremony standing in front of a red curtain is The Muppet Show.
Yeah.
Which I was such a massive fan of when I was a child that I tried to recreate it in one of my Ollie Man spectaculars that I put on in the sitting room.
It was a bit like you were the little puppet in the new Muppet film that is such a huge fan of the Muppets that he goes to Muppet Theatre and kind of revives it.
Yeah, that's right. That was based on me.
Yeah.
I was so in love with that aesthetic, the spotlight on the curtain.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand that it was a spotlight being projected from the box or the back of the theatre.
Right.
That I just love the look of Kermit illuminating the spotlight.
Yeah.
That when I sort of rigged up the theatre, i.e. my front room, taking the sofa and disassembling it, I took a curtain that I had, and I put a massive, large spotlight right behind it.
I'm sensing fire.
To create the impression of a spotlight. And it was there for about 3 hours whilst I was setting everything up. And I was like making a programme for my mum, written and directed by
Why did you leave the
Oliver Mann.
light on during these
But
things?
because I was the star and I could do what I wanted.
Very wasteful.
And then when I invited my mum in to see this terrible show, which I actually hadn't written and was going to perform for her.
That's not the point, though, the writing.
Yeah, she absolutely freaked out because she was like, you could have just set fire to the whole house. What are you doing? And then didn't want to see the show.
She said, not only was this very dangerous, you're also backlit, and that is very intimidating.
Well, talking about children in the spotlight, this is from Daniel from Liverpool, who says, Helen, answer me this. How do the judges for child beauty pageants get chosen? And is there a CRB check? Or something of the like?
No.
Of course there is. What do you mean no?
No.
Yes, there is.
No.
They're at least casually asked the question, are you a paedophile? Surely.
Okay, it's advised that the judges are over 18 and do not have a criminal record, so that only means the most successful paedophiles make it through. But judges are chosen often just because they are important in their field of something related to the pageant, so say fashion or performance, or they were a former pageant child themselves, or they're just the mum of, one of the pageanteers. So I was reading articles by people who've been chosen to be judges, and they were like, there is no check, no qualification. There is a seminar that you can pay to go to for a weekend, and then you're a certificated pageant judge, and you can be on a list whereby pageants can choose you to be a judge. But still, you could fuck kids in your spare time.
But the thing is, if you're the head of a local ballet school or whatever, fashion college, you've had a
child makeup company.
Exactly, you've had a CRB check probably to get to that position of authority anyway.
Well, most child beauty pageants, I'd say, are in the USA.
Yes.
And I don't know whether they have CRB checks. I don't know what they would be called. I don't know what their laws are.
Well, I think the truth is probably depends on the scale, doesn't it? When it's statewide or certainly nationwide, I'm sure they think about this kind of thing very carefully indeed.
Well, I think individual states have their own sort of regulations and certification, but even then, they can choose people that they just want to get into the pageant. Especially, they often have sponsors of the pageant as judges, and they could be anyone.
How do you also explain your skills at being a prospective judge for a child beauty pageant without sounding a bit like a paedophile? I'm expert at assessing a 6-year-old's curves.
I look at kids all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I think it would be wrong of us to say that this wasn't a marginal issue, but I still think it is, even in the weird world of child beauty pageant, it's probably quite a marginal issue. If you actually are interested in attending a child beauty pageant, which admittedly is a weird thing, because you're actually aroused by looking at children, just go and get a ticket. I mean, you wouldn't put yourself in the position of actually being the judge.
Yeah, that's
because you're drawing attention to yourself. More likely to sit in the back row, aren't you?
Well, unless that's a big power trip.
I guess, but I mean, it's a power trip in front of all those other people.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit risky.
Maybe it's best to be one of the backstage helpers.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
those are volunteers, and I don't know whether they can afford to check them. I mean, this question is kind of like asking, if you're a judge at a dog show, do you have to prove that you have no bestiality convictions in your past?
Exactly, and the truth is probably 1 in 100 does.
Down and lonely, life is so confusing. I need some answers, preferably amusing. Now I find a podcast that will suit. I listen to Helen and Ollie on my half-hour commute.
Right, it's time for a question now from Delilah in Nairobi, Kenya. A few days ago, we took our class of 2012 graduation photo.
Congratulations.
Getting the graduation cap, I realised what an odd shape the cap was.
That's right.
So, Helen, answer me this. Why do graduation caps make your head look like an egg with a square cardboard piece attached at the top?
I'd never thought of it before, but her description has now withered my mental image of myself looking very smart indeed in my mortarboard.
I think it partly is so that although you've got this photo that your parents can keep on their mantelpiece and feel proud about for the rest of time, all of your contemporaries and friends, when they come to their house, could go, ha,
they
look
won't,
at you.
though. They won't. People have a certain amount of licence when it comes to academic dress and not being laughed at.
Oh, I don't know. I always laugh at my friends' academic photos. I think they're brilliant.
Well, if they're wearing like a turquoise satin cape with a furry trim, then yes.
Yeah. I think it's good training, actually, for how academics are perceived generally in society. Well, you know, you're doing something where a lot of people aren't going to see the worth in what you do. They're going to be like, go and get a proper job.
Go and get a proper hat.
If you can withstand looking like an idiot and still think, yes, I'm happy with this, I'm buying into this institution, I think that's probably quite a good training for the kind of steadfast.
I've been academic for a number of years, and I've never had the amount of abuse that I've just been subjected to on this podcast, Ollie, man.
The mortarboard and gown is a trope that has been popularised so much in culture, and even the most vapid of American teen series will have a scene where everyone chucks it in the air.
Yeah, exactly. That's totally different.
Yeah, but people are desensitised to the fact that this hat is absurd, and it's taken Delilah here to look upon it with fresh eyes and think, this is ridiculous.
It's the Emperor's new hat, isn't it?
The university that we went to, listeners, you had to have a mortarboard as soon as you arrived. It wasn't just for graduation. You had to own one.
So that you could matriculate.
But you were not allowed to put it on your head
until
at any point until you graduated. So you had to take it to all of your exams just holding it. I used to use it to carry my pens in.
Yeah. See, now I think the reason there's a tassel on the hat is so that it's tactile in your hands, and then you play with the little tassel, so you don't even want to put it on your head until you graduate.
What?
Because it's
not
fun
a
to
stress
touch.
ball.
No, well, I
They're
used
not-
it like that.
Yeah, but I don't think the hat designers were really thinking of fun and practicality, because both of those things are completely negated by everything else in the hat. And no, the tassel evolved out of a little knobble that was on top of the hat.
I'm guessing, Helen, that you've been on the internet and you're going to tell me what the hat designers were thinking.
It's so complicated. They devolve out of religious hats.
Originally, that's what universities were, wasn't it?
Yes,
You go there to be a priest or a doctor, don't you?
Yes,
That's
or it was monks doing the teaching, and so to wear such a ludicrous headgear was actually a kind of honour. So it did confer this important status, and a lot of them were based around a skull cap with ornamentation. There's one theory that the skull cap had like a little square on it that used to be a knob and then got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until the square was much bigger than the skull cap.
Did you, when you were walking around in your actual gown at university, did you get stopped by any tourists and asked to pose for a photo?
No.
I bloody didn't either. And I can't
'Cause
help
we're
thinking,
ugly.
it's because I'm ugly. So, American tourists, if you go to Oxford or Cambridge this summer, please just ask an ugly student to pose with their mortarboard.
They'll be so grateful.
They will remember that moment forever.
Here's another clothes question from Leo in California, who says, Ollie, answer me this. Is it true that Chino trousers have that name because they're all manufactured at the jail in the city of Chino in California?
No.
Oh,
I mean, I
it's
can
so
see-
tidy sounding.
I can see why.
Is the city named after the trousers because all the prisoners have to wear chinos?
Well, that's an interesting concept.
Is it because the French for Chinese is chinois, and chinos are very popular in China?
You're not too far off.
Oh, damn it.
Although, well, it's still far enough to be called wrong.
We always like to keep a respectful distance from fact.
It is related to the Chinese. They're called Chino because they were made in China.
Okay. So then almost everything that we use in this country could be
Yes,
called that.
That's right. But these were made in China at the turn of the 20th century, so at a time when Americans weren't sourcing many of their products from China. But the reason that these trousers were being made in China is because they were being made for American troops in the Philippines during the Spanish-American War.
So it's a little bit of an incorrect term to use, is it?
Well, because it's kind of racist.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it was really. I think it's just that I suspect even possibly that is what the Filipinos called the Chinese was Chino. So it's not like they're just Chino trousers because they're from China. They're Chinese trousers.
I'm
That's what it
sure
means.
that, say, the Japanese and the Chinese called each other some pretty unpleasant names around the same time.
Sure.
Doesn't mean we should still be using those
No,
names.
but like, okay, you've got a Samsung TV there. If
Yeah.
I called that a Korean television, that's like if in 100 years' time all TVs are called Korean. It's not actually offensive. I mean, that's how they said Chinese trousers.
Very well.
Okay.
So chino's like a boring light cotton trouser with not a very flattering cut, is that?
Yeah, but they're not boring now. They're quite jazzy colours this season.
Yeah, Ollie
Like
Mann's got some purple
I've
ones.
got some maroon ones, which actually, I mean, I think they're fine, but I wouldn't have particularly chosen maroon. It's just when you're a 40-inch waist, you can't be too selective. They only make that colour in that size.
That's because it's for old women. What?
Hello, I'm the monk out of 90s band Enigma. Helen, answer me this. Why are hey oh I oh I oh I why what was that all about?
Here's a question from Matt in Shepherd's Bush, who says, Ollie, answer me this. Should the West End production of Singing in the Rain be banned in the drought?
Why?
Because of the hosepipe ban.
Oh, okay, so, yeah. You know the finale of Singing in the Rain, as it is in the West End now?
Oh, I've not seen it.
It's, well, they dance in the rain at the end.
Right.
So with actual rain. So they get through like a tank full of water, I guess, on the stage.
Oh, it's probably just the theatre's got a leak.
Well, some of those old theatres do.
Yeah, exactly.
Is Singing in the Rain one of those films where they use milk in the shooting of it to make it appear more prominently on camera? I know that in Russian one they did something like that.
Well, then it'd be called I'm Singing in the Milk.
No, it wouldn't, Helen, because...
I'm stinking of the milk.
I don't think it would, Helen, because it was a special effect. You see, they wouldn't want to draw attention to that fact.
Yeah, Star Wars isn't called Models in Space.
What?
Or Models Not in Space.
Yeah, we've seen the Death Star. It was rubbish.
No, it is water.
Is it actual
yeah,
water?
because
That'd
people
be very
in the front row
hazardous.
get a bit wet.
All the electricals.
Yeah, I don't know
all
how
the
they do it.
slipping. Anyway, I've been on a very fascinating website called hosepipeban.org.uk, which will give you all the information you need about the hosepipe bans in your area, and it does seem that one can apply for exemptions.
Right, yes.
And also, actually, businesses are particularly good at getting exemptions because you're allowed to hose dog shit off your forecourt, whereas if you're just someone with a garden, you're not. You're allowed to use a hosepipe if you're using grey water.
Oh.
So maybe the theatre in Singing in the Rain is using the water from the washing machine and squirting it all over people.
It probably is a closed circuit of water. I reckon it is. It's
really?
not. I don't
no,
think
it's going to be riddled with disease.
You think it's going to be coming from the tap every night?
I think it's got to be fresh, because if you had the water sluicing down through the stage and over the people and then washing off all that muck, they couldn't reuse that, could they?
I guess.
They're allowed to use water to their heart's content if they have a private borehole. Do you think that's probable for a West End theatre?
Seems unlikely. But I think the thing is, if you can get exemption for businesses, if your business is actually called Singing in the Rain, the show is called Singing in the Rain, it's marketing, the big gimmick is that there's rain in the show.
Look, they just gave Thames Water 10 free tickets to a matinee, and they were fine.
Yeah, I reckon. And it wouldn't be paying much respect to the original film on which the musical is based if they had to rename it Singing in the Standpipe.
Or Singing in the Sun. That'd be quite a nice
yeah, that'd be a nice little twist on it, wouldn't it? Yeah.
It's a beautiful day, I'm still happy.
But I'm sweating a bit because I'm dancing.
I wear my t-shirt.
Yeah. Still don't think it would pull the crowds. It's just my guess.
Not like Singing in the Milk.
That's the dead set here. Anyway, something that definitely will be pulling the crowds in as much as this episode has anyway is next week's episode of Answer Me This.
Hey, don't say that. Our stats could go way down next week.
It's
Who
possible.
knows?
It's possible after this conversation. And if you've got a question for us to answer on next week's show, you know what to do. Send it to us. All the details about how to do that on our website.
AnswerMeThisPodcast.com, where if you're looking for them, you can also find our first 3 years episodes. You can find our apps.
And we'll see you next week. Bye!